Hi everyone. For people who don't know me, I'm Janine Tanner from Envirosure, the Managing Director. And welcome to our webinar. This will be our new way of interacting with you over the next few weeks or months, depending on the lockdown periods. And we are going to be accrediting these webinars to give you the CVD points. And we'd like you to engage with us on a weekly, if not monthly basis.
I'm Adele Hartley, the General Manager of Envirosure. I'm quite involved in the claims, and in today's presentation we're going to give you an update on previous claims that we've discussed in CPD presentations. This claim stands as Envirosure's highest single loss, thus it is our worst case scenario. A diesel tanker overturned in the Meerensport Pass. As the tanker overturned, it ruptured all of its compartments, leading to 32,000 litres of diesel channeling directly into a river, which was the only habitat of an endangered species of fish. The stormwater culverts channeled the product directly into a river. The river bank was severely impacted with hydrocarbons which were continually leaching back into the river, which was quite a complex cleanup job for all of the experts involved. Envirosure was notified of the incident and we immediately appointed Spiltech to contain the spillage. Once we became aware of the impacts to the riverbank and the soil, we appointed expert geohydrologists to deal with that aspect of it. We then had to appoint water ecologists as the river was severely impacted, and then fish experts to help extract the endangered species and relocate them. With the involvement of the various government departments and experts, this incident was classed as an ecological disaster. We then had to consult with experts in America who dealt with contamination in the Everglades for their expert advice. One of the requirements that the government had held us to was proof that the endangered species of fish that's only habitat is that river had bred. This incident had occurred in 2017 and we were now in the third year of monitoring the river. Rehabilitation efforts had concluded quite a while back, but we had to use as fish specialists and a water ecologist to prove that there were long-term impacts on the river. Just prior to lockdown, our water ecologists and fish specialists went out to do their third and final sample of the river. Luckily, the results have come back quite conclusively that the fish have no long-term impacts, the river health has significantly improved, and there's no visible signs of any hydrocarbons or impacts on this water source. From the previous study that was done on the river, there was no breeding found. So this sparked quite a lot of concern from the ecologists and the water specialists that the fish were not breeding. However, there was other factors that came into play. Due to the severe droughts in the Western Cape, the fish have got a natural instinct to suppress breeding until there is better times. So luckily there has been more water flow in the area, thus the presence of juveniles were picked up in this water sample. The water ecologist has raised concerns of other factors that have majorly impacted this river, which seem to be far more prevalent than the diesel spillage. One of the main factors is the presence of invasive alien species of catfish, which are greatly diminishing the redfin's population as well as other local fish and invertebrates. They have also noted that water shortages have played a major role in the impact of this river, as well as there being stoppages throughout the flow course, which has impacted the flow down to the lower end of the river. This incident also highlights the length of time that a claim can take to be concluded. You have to ensure that the area is completely rehabilitated, and then you can only apply for government closure, which may also take quite a considerable length of time, as they may independently go in and confirm the information that we've provided to them. We're extremely grateful for our service providers and the quick response that they gave us. Without them and all the efforts that they put in place, this claim could have been significantly worse, with the impact on the environment and those fish detrimental. This claim is the perfect scenario of everything that can go wrong will go wrong. And this is the reality that clients need to understand. If this client was not adequately insured, they would have had to incur these costs themselves as well as potential jail terms. This claim exceeded 5 million rand. And it could have been significantly higher if we hadn't responded as fast as we did. We always urge transporters to take at least upwards of 5 million rand cover for fuel, but very often you'll still see transporters that only have 1 million or the 250,000 that's included on their HCV policies, which is totally inadequate. Overall, the feedback on the latest ecology report has been outstanding. The river shows no long-term impacts, the fish show no long-term impacts. So now we can safely submit this through to the Department of Environmental and Water Affairs, as this was a reportable Section 30 claim to apply for site closure. Our second case study is going to be an update on the Kransport Pass, which we've discussed previously. This treacherous pass is renowned for tankers overturning in multiple car accidents. In the past year, we'd had 3 incidents which we've discussed in previous CPD claims. The first was an acid tanker that overturned, losing its full load, which channeled down into a farmer's property leading into the Loskop Dam. Luckily, that was contained and we have successfully rehabilitated that site. Soon following that incident, we had a petrol tanker that caught alight on the top of the pass. Unfortunately, the driver passed away and the full load completely burned out before the authorities were even informed of the incident. What adds to the treachery of this pass is that there's very limited cell phone signal. So often if there is an incident, the authorities and the transport owners are not aware until someone else drives past or they notice that the truck hasn't arrived at its final destination, which could be hours. The petrol tanker completely burned out, causing the full load to be lost. It channeled directly into a stormwater drain which led for kilometers down river passes and into multiple water sources. This was quite an extensive rehabilitation project as we had to flush the entire flow path as well as soil rehabilitation. This site has also been successfully rehabilitated and we are waiting final site closure from the authorities. The third incident was an acid tanker that overturned directly across from the petrol tanker incident. So luckily we already had containment measures in place. The tanker was descending the pass and overturned, flipping the tanker over the cement barricade onto the side of the road. Here we had to do extensive in situ remediation as the acid had spread underneath the road surfaces following the down gradient flow path to where the previous spill's diesel had followed. Luckily there was containment measures under the bridge, thus stopping the acid spreading any further. Following extensive rehabilitation on the acid incident, we are now quite confident that the site is no longer a risk. We are doing our final stages of sampling. From there we will apply to the authorities for site closure. The latest incident involved an acid tanker. Whilst descending the pass, it lost control and overturned, crossing both carriageways, breaking through the barricades and landing up on a farmer's property. Factors that contribute to incidents in this specific area are inexperienced drivers. Very often the drivers are not familiar with this pass, which is a danger on its own. It's got quite a lot of curves and turns to it, which can lead to them losing control of their vehicle. Especially on descent, the drivers often are not able to contain their vehicle. The speed factor comes in quite significantly, as well as the momentum from the load, which pushes the truck forward. Regarding this incident, we do believe that speed and the swish factor played a significant role in causing this tanker to overturn. In this incident, the tanker rolled multiple times, spreading acid across the road surface as well as pooling on the farmer's property. To highlight the dangers of this pass, unfortunately the driver and co-driver both passed away on impact. The truck and trailer were also complete write-offs. Due to the acid being spread across the road surface, the pass had to be closed for the road to be neutralized, as well as for forensic to recover the bodies and the towing companies to get the truck and trailer. The first responders took immediate measures to isolate the spill as much as possible, as well as boom off flow paths, as it was evident that the product had already entered into watercourses. Over-under bridges were put in immediately to stop the spread of the acid further down into the watercourses. The environmentalist was immediately dispatched to site, as we were aware that local communities use this water source as drinking water. The soil was severely impacted as a result of the tanker overturning onto the farmer's property. Immediate measures were taken to do cut-off trenches to stop further contamination, as well as yellow plant equipment brought in to excavate the contaminated soil and stockpile for on-site remediation. With the guidance of the environmentalist, we review the various disposal or remediation options on every incident. With this claim, on-site remediation was the most viable option, cost-effective and also most aligned to the NEMA Act. The rehabilitation process involves neutralizing the acid in the soil back to its previous pH level, as well as an ongoing monitoring and turning to ensure that all the soil has been effectively rehabilitated before reinstating the site. With any environmental incident, speed of response is critical. Due to our extremely swift response on this, we were able to contain the spillage in the watercourses and mitigate any further spread of the acid. The water has since been tested and has returned to its previous pH levels. Due to the significant impact on the soil, this rehabilitation is still ongoing. We've just recently concluded probably our final watering and turning event. The samples are looking good, so within a few months, probably after winter, generally through the colder seasons, rehabilitation is a lot slower. So by September, we should be able to sample and then restore the site.
Thank you for joining us. Please read the articles, answer the few questions to obtain your CBD points, and please look out for our next webinars, which will be following shortly. You're welcome to contact us if you have any questions or queries.